Tonight, how to blow your redundancy. A dragon's guide to avoiding the pitfalls.
You're about to make the biggest decision in your life and you're about to risk quite a lot of money. And I don't think there's a race on how quickly you want to lose that money, so take your time.
With evidence of recession all around us, you'd be right to feel nervous about putting your money anywhere other than under your mattress. But in the last economic slump, multi-millionaire entrepreneur Caan set up a human resources company, which he later sold for tens of millions of pounds. He firmly believes with the right idea, now's a good time to go it alone.
I'm probably investing in more businesses than I've ever invested in before. So actually, I think this is a really good time to be investing. If I'd listened to everybody in '91, they were saying, James, you must be mad. You know, the market's dead, people are laying people off, you know, there's redundancies, companies are collapsing, and you think this business is going to be global? And the answer was, yes, I did. The problem is, you can never time when you're going to have your next great idea. You know, the guy who launched McDonald's, you know, he was 60.
But without that eureka moment of your own, there's another popular way to invest your redundancy. Buy a franchise. That's when you buy and run your own branch of a well-known brand. This can reduce the risk when going it alone.
I mean, I know the whole concept of franchising sometimes is quite controversial, but I think if you've got the right model, you know, and I think if you've got a professional firm, a well-structured firm, I think if you've never run a business before, then I do think franchising at times can be very good. My certainly advice to the franchisee is do your homework, you know, do your due diligence, check out the numbers. Don't just please rely on the pretty graphs that say, you know, you'll be a millionaire overnight, because it's not true.
Sadly for some, spotting a bad franchise isn't so obvious. Former RAF engineer Steve Fowkes from Cardiff thought the sweet smell of success came in the form of a perfume vending machine franchise.
Well, the miniature fragrances are miniature bottles of the full-size product. And the idea is, you're out in the pub, want to freshen up and whatever, for the sake of £5, you can get a miniature bottle.
The business plan supplied by the franchisor showed high demand for the £5 bottles of perfume, and it gave a list of names of successful franchisees.
When I was looking to buy the franchise, the figures indicated by the franchisor was the fact that each machine such as this would vend approximately 5 individual fragrances per machine per day. Times that by 10 machines, or 15 that I bought into, and that revenue would have earned me in the region of around about £30,000 a year. It was going to be a nice, tidy living.
Without checking with other franchisees and taking the word of the company owners as far as sales figures were concerned, Steve handed over £30,000 of his redundancy. But 6 months on, this is what remains of his investment. Only 7 of his 15 machines turned up. And even then, he found there was no real demand for perfume from vending machines. The business was a total disaster.
The sales are appalling. People were unwilling to pay £5 for a miniature fragrance, a 5mm miniature fragrance, and that was becoming very, very obvious that the business model was not viable.
It later turned out that the sales figures and the references were false, and the men behind the franchise were behind other well-publicised failed franchises. Had Steve done his research, he'd never have handed over the cash.
The tough answer is, you know, it's just as much your own fault as it is theirs, because if you did your due diligence, which, let's be honest, is not rocket science, you wouldn't lose your money. So we go back to the original point. How much due diligence should you do? The answer is a lot, because you're about to make the biggest decision in your life and you're about to risk quite a lot of money. And I don't think there's a race on how quickly you want to lose that money, so take your time.
Looking back on it now, there's perhaps things I could have done slightly different. But yes, it does feel a bit stupid.
The Office of Fair Trading advises those recently made redundant to be cautious when investing in businesses and training courses. They say that the new investor should thoroughly investigate the claims of a company, particularly about potential earnings. And if you're unsure, ring Consumer Direct for advice before you part with any money. And you can find more advice on our website at itv.com/tonight.